Productions.
Yeah, I am David Jeffrey MacFarland. I got licensed in December of 2014, really got started in February, March 2015. So coming up on, I guess, 8 years in business. The last 4 have really been more successful than the first few, and a lot of that has to do with what we're going to talk about today.
Awesome, sweet. Okay, cool. So what are we talking? What is your top source of?
So I guess my one thing for, I don't know if you call it necessarily lead generation, because it isn't, it's a gross word. But the way that I stay in front of my database is through client events. That is my one thing. I identified, as Heidi very eloquently said, I will only do things that I like to do. I can't force myself to do the efforts and activities that I don't enjoy. When I first got started, the coach 4 coaches ago put me in a smile booth, she called it, with a pressers page and said, start dialing. And I thought I made a mistake. But as I got into the office and saw how other agents were doing it and saw that, especially like I went to a Jim DeMora class, the one that will always stand out to me, that he was finding business in ways that he enjoyed. And I thought, well, a light bulb went on. I could do that. There are things I'd like to do. So that kind of started to get into the client events. And then I identified that if I do 4 a year, on average, they have about 7 touches per event. So I am 75–80% of the way to a 36 touch, talking to people about things I'm excited about, which is a very easy conversation for me to have.
Awesome, cool. So and I think we were talking today in the meeting about 20 contacts a day or 20 more than what you're doing. And I was like, ooh, that's like, I don't even do 20. So how are we going to get there? But this is a really good way to find those people to talk to, right? Like that's how you're getting in those. I mean, and I'm not putting you on the spot saying that you're doing 20, but like that's how you're getting in front of these people.
And I'm not asking them for business. I'm asking them to come do something. And what I'm gaining is the mind share, right? People can name all of your friends. Try this activity at your Thanksgiving party. Ask them to name 3 real estate agents. Don't be offended if you're not one. But they're going to name a guy they hear on the radio. They're going to name someone they see on TV or something to that effect. And you might be number 3. What that tells you is that you don't have the proper mind share of the people that you're with. I find that through the client events, I do them quarterly, and that's strategically because I want a little bit of time in between the correspondence. I can also take advantage of the seasonality. And then if any of you guys were at my class a couple of weeks ago, the 3 main pillars of them is it repeatable? I don't want to reinvent the wheel every time I do an event. I want to do the same event so people start to kind of remember it and they can be excited about it. Is it scalable? As my database grows, can I bring more people there without, again, reinventing the wheel? And then 3, 4 is kind of the same thing. Will the majority of the people in my database enjoy it, and will I enjoy it? If the answer is no to any of those questions, it's not a good event, because I won't be able to have it the next year with a bigger crowd and no one's going to have a good time.
Awesome. So when you first started doing this, I'm going to guess your budget now is probably a little different than it was when you first started.
Well, yes,
okay.
That didn't stop me from overspending in the beginning because I thought I had to do this big grandiose thing, right? Which it is important for details. Details matter, right? But anybody in this room that has ever gotten married, hopefully just once, but if not, good for you. Things went wrong at your wedding, and only you and your bride or your husband or your partner knew what they were. So at a client event, it's the same thing. Things are going to go wrong. Your attendees, unless it's like, somebody falls and breaks a leg, your attendees are not going to notice what is not going perfect. So you can't necessarily stress the details, but the prep, it's all in the prep. Like everything, the days leading up to it, everything will take care of itself during the actual event. And I promise people will show up. That's still my biggest fear. And I've been doing it for 5 years. It's like 5 minutes before go time and no one showed up yet. And I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a dud. But they will come. I promise.
Okay. So let's say, and we'll get to kind of where you're at now, because obviously there's a little bit more that you're probably doing, but like just starting out. And as you said, you probably overspend on something. Like, what would you say if you are just getting ready to do your first client event, or your first one, maybe at more of a high level than just sending out one invitation and not following up on it? What would you say are important things to include in the event and before and after?
Well, so beginning is you have to think about your budget. So that there's 2 main aspects to your budget. It's 1, how much money can you actually spend? And then 2, how many people do you want to be there? And then you start to figure out a per person, or call it a per plate budget. So my events typically are somewhere, the lesser expensive ones are around $12 to $15 per person. And the more expensive ones can be kind of in the $25 to $27 range per person. So if I'm inviting 150, 200 people, the price point goes up. But the scalability is the more important thing there, because you can do these events for 20 people and spend $25 on 20 people, not 100 or 200. And then you can make that fit your budget. That's where you may want to consider kind of a VIP list. So you're getting the people who are actually referring you business in the beginning, and then have like a separate, like, you know, your credit union or bank probably has like an old school vacation account. Kick 10% of every closing into that account. When you have enough money to do a more grandiose event, then that's your budget. But if you're not paying attention to it and you're not actively saving for it, you're never going to have the cash, because we know how to spend it.
So when it comes to, I guess, the event itself, do you provide like full meals? Do you mostly do snacks? What is your venue? How much do you try and get some of those for free? And is it important to always have something that they can take with them?
Yeah, so I try and lean into some of my vendors for these things to help the people that I'm referring business to, whether it's title, whether it's lender, inspection companies, the folks that I'm routinely giving business to. I don't mind asking, and I always say, you'll get sponsorship, you'll get branding. So for my fall event, we had my lender sponsors the pumpkin patch. So they pick up that expense, they pick up the logistics. It's a huge deal off my plate. Now, given we're still going to oversee it because we want it to go perfect. But that's one example. And what was the other part of the question?
Venue, and then also, do you have something to take with it?
And it always depends. Now, one important thing is a branded item worth keeping after the event, I think, is highly important, because it will help people remember the event. What's the old adage? People will forget what you did for them. They won't forget how you made them feel. I think that branded piece helps them remember how they felt at the event, and may help them be more excited to come to the next one. Guys, we're talking like magnets and shit. You don't have to like get them something awesome. Just, I'll tell you, if any of you guys are on our mailing list, which I think Rob's the only one, I love stuff that goes on your refrigerator. Like that's my jam, because people use magnets. Some people are super type A and they don't have anything on the refrigerator. God bless them. I'm not that person. So when you get something from us, it's going to have a magnet so it can go plop, and you pass by it all the time, especially leading up to the holidays when you're going to have people in the house.
Okay, awesome. And then as far as the, like, can you just obviously you've got the event, but can you talk a little bit about the before and how the inviting and everything goes? You get a lot of touches there, and then the after, because those are where you're pulling your touches from.
Yeah, so I like to do, everybody communicates differently. You know, if you guys are on the obviously correspondence from the office, you're getting a Facebook message, you're getting a text message, you're getting an email about this class today. I like to start with a piece of snail mail that comes, and then once we always send them to ourselves, so we know when they're coming through. Once we know that's happened, then we've got a canned email that comes out, then they get a text message. And for those people who have a hard time committing, they then get a personal call from me. And that's where I get the best reception. And it's where I have a very easy time of navigating into a real estate conversation. But the best thing is, so my best two events would be my fall and my spring, because people are there for an extended period of time and their kids are doing activities. So it gives me the ability to have a deeper conversation. Real estate's naturally going to come up, so I can actually ask for business. Then they get a thank you card in the mail, they get a thank you text, and they get a thank you email. One of the things, like with the fall event, my photographer comes out and does free family portraits. So everybody gets not only their family portrait, but we go through the 500 pictures she takes, a bunch of candid ones, and we send all of those. I get Christmas cards from people with that photo for their Christmas card, which I think is kind of cool.
And if somebody can't make it to the event, do you still send them a follow-up? Do you still follow up?
They'll still get a follow-up. Sorry, we missed you. Look forward to seeing you at the next one. If there's something that's given away, we may do a porch drop, because, you know, especially with what's gone on the last couple of years, it's not because they had better things to do. They may be taking care of a loved one, or they may have someone sick at home. So not being able to attend is, you know, it's not a demerit. It's just life happens. So we want to be sure that they still feel included.
Okay, awesome. I had one thing that was going through my head.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Do you have an automated system for all of these touches? And if so, how long did it take you to develop that?
Not necessarily automated. We have a calendar for it. So like, say our fall event is always the last Sunday of September. It's just the date because it's closest to, it's in real fall. We have dates leading out to it. So we want the invites to be out 3 weeks prior. The emails to, the text is 1, and the calls, if need be, are the week of. So then that way we can have a feel for where we're at. It's probably because my database isn't big enough to justify it yet. But I don't love when I receive something that feels like it's, yes, not personal. So that's something, especially with the client events and, people with bigger databases, they can't do that, right? But with my size, where we're at and kind of where I'm comfortable, it's the personality and the touch is, I think, what helps sell the event.
Okay, I remember what I was gonna say, real quick, when, like, if you're looking at let's say you're planning for next year, you obviously do a lot of the same events, and I know you had mentioned a lot of them on the same dates or same weekends, but if you're looking, say, okay, I want to do an event in March, at what point are you gonna start planning, calling, getting your vendors together, how far out do you actually start working on these events?
You probably need 2 months, maybe 3.
Okay.
More time is better than less, because if a hiccup happens, if something goes awry, you have time to kind of recoil and recover from it. But I would say, no matter how big the event is, give yourself more time than less, because you'll be able to think of the things. And when I go back to how my first fall event went versus how we do it now, there was all kinds of things that we didn't think about. And then, I'll just say my key demographic is growing families. My second key demographic are people who are empty nesting. So my events are very much focused around what are the kids going to do or what are the grandkids going to do. So I can be talking to the parents and grandparents, because that's my clients. So I mentioned in the class, we do a movie day. I hate movie day. I love movie day because I like going to the movies. But it's kind of worthless because I don't actually get to talk to anybody. I get to greet them on the way in, I get to greet them on the way out, I get to make a quick statement before the movie starts, but then it's 2 hours of being on, a shitty first date. So that's where and we're gonna try and maybe redo that. We stopped doing a pie day this year. We switched to a visit with Santa Claus for the same idea. It gives me more time to talk to them, and I think people will enjoy it more than a pie they can go buy for themselves.
So you say if people are looking to put together an event and based on the demographics of their clients, and always thinking too, you can invite people or there's gonna be different, but trying to kind of tailor it around that, and or if you've got a mix, maybe doing one that's like kids and family and one that's like an adults only or something, so you can get some of those people that are maybe.
Yeah, if we were ever going to add more than the 4, I may do something more specific. The only problem that I've priced out more of like an adult friendly one. Grown-ups are far more expensive than kids to entertain because they like alcohol, and alcohol's really expensive. So the way that I kind of combine that is like with the fall event, I can get an alcohol permit from the city and I can serve, spirits and beer and all that, which people enjoy. As far as the food thing, no, I don't do full meals because it goes from $4 a person for donuts to all of a sudden $30 a person for that. So it's timing them to where people have, like, I'm not doing it at lunchtime. It's going to be mid-afternoon. So you've probably already had lunch before you come, and you're going to be planning on having dinner after. So that way there's snacks, there's stuff to keep people there, but it's budgeting and not overspending on that stuff. And if you're going to spend a little bit of extra, give them something cool to take home. So that way they keep it and have it.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else have like a pressing questions? Because otherwise we got to keep it moving, but anybody have anything? It's like.
And my office is right there. If anybody ever wants to do an event, wants to run anything by me, I'm a pretty open book with it. I can tell you what I failed at, what's gone well. I'm happy to be able to prepare. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Matt, you want to come up?
Sure.
Internalize everything like David. Notes here.
We can't all be on the ball, but but this also comes, he's so comfortable in it because he's been doing this now for a year. Like this is your jam, right? So like,
yeah, the first time I did it, I was like actually shitting my pants leading up to it. You get comfortable with time and repetition, right? It's like anything.
My first event, I think I fly it like 4 weeks in advance. That's why I asked on that timeline, and then there was a monsoon and like 7 people came and the tent was blowing all over the place. So, it's fine. It's all good. So proper planning is good. All right. Please state your name and let us know. what are we talking about.
Marsoupian, I've been in real estate for what seems like a long time. I've had a team. I've owned my own brokerage, and for the past 7 years, I've just been on my own as a solo agent. So kind of navigating the waters as a leveraged agent. I shouldn't say solo. I get help from people like Jessica.
All right, awesome. And what are you going to be talking, or would you like me to?
Yeah, so if what's interesting is I'm sitting there, I'm like glad we went in this order. I envy Dave's business because he's doing a lot of things that I want to do, that I know I can do, but that I'm not good at naturally. So I need like that outside help, and I know he does have help. So if you're hearing that and you think, well, I can't do it myself, figure out what you need to get leverage. For me, about 80% of my business. So let me rewind. A number of years ago, when I had a team, we looked at for about this time of year for business planning for the following year and where we were going to spend money and where we were going to do all these different things. We took a step back. I took a step back and looked at it and said, where's our current business coming from? Right? Where's our current business coming from? Before we figure out all these different mailing campaigns and all this kind of stuff, where are we currently getting business from? And I think that's an important thing to stop and say, all right, if you're newer, obviously you have to figure out ways to get business. But if you've been in this business, double or triple down on what's already working before you like start adding a 4th, 5th, 6th lead source. And for us, it was a sphere of influence. We were getting majority of our business from the sphere of influence and spending little to no money and time working it. So I said, all right, what would it look like instead of talking to strangers if I just got to get more business from my current people, right? So I just wrote down some numbers. My average for the past 3 years, I average about 80% of my business from sphere of influence and referrals. My average sales price is about $416,000. My average commission is 3.05%. So anyone that thinks you have to discount your friends and family, you don't. As long as you are the trusted person in their world, they're going to pay you a premium, right? That's my personal belief. I don't go to a friend's business to ask for a discount.
No.
So I just preface that by saying, like, just because you work with friends and family doesn't mean you have to discount people. I charge my parents 3% commission. If people don't believe me, like, no, I charge my brother 3%. Like, that's what I do. You want to hire me? You're not just hiring me because I'm family. You're hiring me because I'm the best at the job.
Sometimes they should be 3.5. I mean, they can might
Yes,
be the
yes,
hardest
exactly.
ones to work with.
So how do I get business from my sphere of influence? I would love to say, like, I like systemize it. And I know that sounds not exactly what you're looking to hear. And I'm constantly working on improving it. But I'm doing as many things as I can do to stay in relationship with my people. Okay. So what do I mean by that? I just wrote down a few things. Social media. I am on social media a lot, probably more than I should be, but I'm on it with intention. What do I mean by that? I unfollow a lot of people that I'm connected to that I don't need to see what they do. Right? Just because I'm friends with someone doesn't mean I need to see their world, their life. A lot of real estate agents and other people in the professional world, they're under a real estate tab. So if I want to look a feed of all the people that I'm friends with on Facebook and real estate, I can see what they're doing. What I look at daily is my close friends list. So anybody in my sphere of influence that's in my database I'm friends with on Facebook is in my close friends list. So when I open up I'm scrolling through, I'm seeing their life events. I'm seeing their kids. I'm seeing their posts. I'm seeing their pets. I'm seeing all of these things that I'm going to interact with them about. I believe in, again, with intention, I kind of follow 555. Every day I want to wish 5 people a happy birthday. I'm going to comment or like on 5 things, and I'm going to private message 5 people. Okay.
And what does it look like? Like when you're private messaging them, especially if you aren't maybe like as close with them or whatnot, how do you do that without it? I mean, for all, being creepy.
No,
right.
100%. Stories. Instagram and Facebook stories are the perfect place to get in slide into someone's DMs. I'm serious. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Well, when someone posts a story, right? It can be something funny. I mean, I completely avoid any political or any like taboo subjects, but like if someone's got a cute puppy that they just got, I'm going to private, I'm just going to respond to the story, which is 1-to-1. Oh my God, cute. What kind of dog is that? Or, oh my God, I've been to that restaurant before, or something like that, or asking them a question that's going to get a two-way conversation going. It's super easy to do, even if you haven't talked to that person a long, long time. In some cases, even if you're not like close with them, right? Because people are putting stuff out there in social media to get a human interaction, and that's what we're giving. But it gives an opportunity to have the one-to-one conversation without being just out of the blue. I'm just going to pick this person and private message them, right? That's creepy.
I like that because, you know, it's interesting because you can see who sees your stories and stuff. And sometimes when I'll look and I'm like, oh, I surprised that person even saw that because we're not that close, but it doesn't then seem weird where it's like, if you were just to pull that person, like go to their profile and send them a message, they're like, that's weird. Why were you searching me? But this just looks like, I mean, not that it looks like it, that is legitimately what it is. So that's.
So like yesterday I was at the grocery store and I was super stressed out because it was crazy. And I just posted like a story, right? And it just says PSA, the grocery store is absolutely nuts. Like early pandemic, give me a Xanax nuts. And it was like real in the moment, right? And you can see like I had a number of people interact with me like, oh, I got to go get my pie stuff, or thanks for the heads up, or whatever. And some of those people I haven't talked to in a long time. So guess what? Even if I don't respond then, if I reach out to them in a little bit, it's not going to be as weird because we've kind of bridged a gap maybe where we hadn't talked in a while. I'm what you would call probably an introverted extrovert or extroverted introvert. One of talking with people exhausts me. Like there's nothing that scares me more than being the center of attention at a party, at an event, and having to talk to everyone. But on a one-to-one basis, I don't feel that anxiety. Like I'm okay talking and interacting with people. So I've found that I can have really good conversations. That's not about real estate often that can lead to opportunities. And again, you just want to have that mind share that I'm the real estate person in someone's world. And that doesn't mean always talking about real estate, if that makes sense.
And this actually kind of filters into what I was gonna say next, because I had gone to Matt last week just to ask him some help and advice on how he's doing the stuff with social. And he was talking about like your profile and how that looks. First of all, do you use business and personal? And I know the answer. So then after that, what do you do on your personal page to bring it all together? And if you want to use, somebody else's or mine as an example of what's not good, you can share that too, because we looked at mine. So
no, I was going to use yours. First of all, no, even if you don't like social media, know if you want to get more business from your sphere of influence, that's a place you have to be. You have to be there. You have to. You also can't be a secret agent, meaning if I pull up your social media profiles, is it immediately evident of what you do and how to get a hold of you? Heidi, without even realizing it, we pulled up her thing and it wasn't like abundant. There's an about section on Facebook on the left, and it did not have look at mine. Not that mine is perfect, but I failed forward. Does it say real estate agent? Does it take a link to your page? Does it just say Keller Williams Advantage? Because if it just says Keller Williams Advantage and you have a personal or a business Facebook page, it's not even taking people there. Now I'll say this, I only have a Facebook business page because you have to in order to advertise. That's it. If you look at my Facebook business page, there's not a lot because I don't have a lot of followers, but I am friends with 5,000 people on my personal page, right? So my business page is really just to be able to advertise. Does that make sense? Because you can't do advertising through command or paid ads unless you have a business page. Okay. So first of all, just take a self audit. Is it visible what you do? Right. If I was to scroll your Facebook feed, I should see that I personally believe that I should see who you are, not just a real estate agent, not just a parent, not just an athlete. You should be, I think you should be one of three things, right? And if you're not, you have to figure out what that is. What's your identity? If you're just in real estate, people are going to unfollow you. They're not going to pay attention. If you're just focused on your family, people are never going to know you to real estate, right? So I want to, with intention, look at my Instagram, look at my Facebook. I'm three things. I'm an outdoorsman, hunter. I'm a family guy. I'm a parent, father, and then I'm also a real estate agent. Most of my posts are around those things, and also try to be funny once in a while. The second thing.
You as a traveler.
What's that?
I see you as a traveler.
Yeah, well, yeah. Travel.
I follow your Facebook.
Yeah.
well, and I just tried to, because I was gonna have you guys go and pull up, say you could see the difference, but it's a little different. So on the desktop, you can see everything.
Yeah.
on the mobile, you can only see a few, but are you able to rearrange those things? Cause like mine says from Berkeley lives in Commerce. That's not
You
very
can-
exciting, but
you-
like yours says real
Yeah,
estate.
Yeah, you can choose to show what you want. Like on mine, if you just scroll, it's like real estate coach, lives in South Lyon, married to so-and-so. Here's my links, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, my Pinterest, my Zillow profile, my website. You can put all of those things so people can easily follow, link to it.
And it pops up quickly, like when, even if I just, even without going to see more, yours says real estate, like mine says where I live, yours
Yep.
says real estate. So I
And
think
then
those
you
are
could
things
put
that
a-
are important, because that's what people are looking at.
And you could put a little bio,
Yeah.
like for mine, it starts realtor, coach, husband of my high school sweetheart, and dad to two miniature versions of ourselves. You have to keep your bio within a certain amount of room, but you should absolutely say what you are. Again, not just one thing, you are a variety of things. Everyone is. That's when people click on you and see what you do, whatever. The other thing that I've been doing for a while, which I kind of put on pause for a little bit, but just helped me, that I have going on is proactively being in front of people. What do I mean by that? Everybody knows what farming is, right? You're mailing or you're touching a database or a specific geographic area. I do that, but I also do it digitally. In other words, I've tried to evaluate the costs and said, all right, I can pepper 1,200 homes with a postcard once a month for $800 a month, or I can get in front of the same amount of people for probably $100 a month. So what I currently have running is two separate ads. They're both filmed by Way Up. So, Abby and Rob have brought Way Up Media here and given everybody the opportunity to maybe film something. So instead of just a picture or worse, nothing, I wanted to put my face and, me speaking about the industry. So I've got two, I think 40-second clips. I was filmed by Way Up. You could film it yourself. You could edit it yourself. It doesn't have to be overthought. And then I have ads going through command, one just to my database. So only people in my database are getting it. And then another one that is a geographic area. So it's like my digital farming. Those are not lead forms. They're just simply branding, just being out there. Specifically the one to my database, what you have to understand is that the people that are in your database, if they have social media, you can target them directly, right? They have to be in your database. You have to have your Facebook profile, Instagram profile in your database, but then you can advertise to them. Does that make sense? So I have one going right now. I just screenshot. It's been going for like a week. You got it? You also be in my database.
And yeah, to know, also it's, if anybody, well, you're pulling that up, you don't know how to get, like, when you go to somebody's page, if you pull their link from like the browser, you copy it, you put their name in your database, you put that, you may only have that information, you may not have email, you may not have anything else, but then this can, because they're now there and they're seeing that, if you do something, let's say like something that you can then pull their information from if you go down the road, but you can then get more information, but this will ensure that you get in front of them.
If anybody has kids, get a hold of the the school directory, and then take the time to put those people in your database, and then go and search and find their social media, and you may be able to advertise to all of them.
Kids.
It might be.
Well,
No, but that is like a passive thing. They
Yeah.
don't know how they're getting it. They don't know, like if I was to call up people from the school handbook, say, hey, this is Matt Marsoupian. My kids go to Hardy Elementary. You've never met me, but I'd like to be the realtor of choice. That would be a little weird. If I'm just advertising them and they also see my name at the school and I sponsor the PTO thing and all this kind of stuff, I'm more in their world and they don't know that I'm targeting them.
and
But
it-
I'm spending a fraction of the money rather than being a giant blanket.
And it comes through as a sponsored ad. So what is good about that, especially if you're adding in, like, first of all, for your regular database, they're kind of like, oh, like, they're like.
That's
big deal.
everywhere.
They're like, I spot, but then also if they see that, they're not like, oh, they targeted me. They're like, oh, I'm just seeing this because I see these other ads. So it makes, once again, it's a good way to get yourself in front of people without being too intrusive and calling through the book and possibly getting your kids removed from the school and stuff for all those privacy things you're not supposed to do.
Not that
So.
Heidi said that, right?
But yeah, so it is a very passive way of just starting to be
Sure.
here.
Yep. A couple other things I did, speaking of my kid's school, is that I stole this idea from someone else. I'm very not creative, but I'm good at ripping off and duplicating. R&D. R&D. So this is a school magnet. It's got, I'm not a sports guy, So for me, it would be disingenuous to have U of M or Michigan State game schedule, plus it's thrown out after November, December. For me, my kids go to South Lyon School. This is kind of a cheat sheet of all the days that are off. It goes through June of 2023. So I've put this in front of all the people in my database that go to school, and it's got me on it, but it's not so loud. That's just another way to stay in front of my database year round. And then I like items of value, but I only like giving out things that I personally would want. So for me, I know a lot of people do Yetis. This is a wine one, very popular. I had, my logo put on it, and these aren't just like thank you gifts for like closings. I give these to people that are in my database. And funny story, my daughter's on a dance team. So there's some families that are on this dance team that know me, but I don't really know. And I saw one at a football game, and he goes, "Hey, I don't know how, but one of your Yetis ended up at my house, and I pulled it out of the dishwasher. I wonder where it came from." And like that light bulb went off. Like, wow, the more I put these in circulation, the more that people are seeing and using them, bringing them to people's house. So I've got wine one, I've got Truly containers, I just got some bourbon ones, and I've got coffee ones too. So again, this is kind of like my ongoing advertising, if you will.
Awesome. And then real
If
quick,
it is like a closing gift.
I give them as closing gifts too, but I also just give them to people. Like what I used to think like with like Dave's, about past clients. They don't have to be like gifted something if they use you to buy or sell a house. Like everyone in your world should feel the love, even if they haven't referred you, right? Now, the people that do refer you should get special attention. You should identify those people as VIPs. But if I was to have a client appreciation party, it would be my friends and family, because those are my clients and my friends, in addition to people that I've helped buy houses. Does that make sense?
and then real quick, if people are sitting here going, this is a great idea, I should totally add this to my plan for 2023. But then we're gonna go through schedule, budget, timeline, like how this all looks. Roughly, like, I mean, what do you think somebody should budget for this high end and low end? And then do you have, right, some people do these calendars of like what they're posting or whatnot. Like, do you have stuff that you plan in advance so that you make sure that you're hitting all the areas that you should be, I guess?
Full transparency, no.
Okay.
I don't. So to say that I have the year planned out in terms of content, no, I haven't. But I have allocated, I think, $1,000 a month to my marketing and budget.
Okay.
So $250 a month digital, and the rest kind of different things like pop buys and cider and donuts, or just different things.
Okay, so like on the digital front, 250, and somebody has a very small budget, or they're not like, this could really be done for free if they have more time and are more diligent, where it's not automated on the ads, or a little less on the ad.
Yeah, I mean, you can, it costs no money to have the relationships online.
Right.
Like that is absolutely, doesn't take any money. These were about 70 cents a piece total. It costs a little bit more to mail because they're 84 cents a piece rather than a regular stamp. So that kind of stuff. Speaking of getting your kids to work for you though, like it's a perfect opportunity if you do have children to get them to help you. There's a joke. My daughter's got a friend named Emma, and she requested more Marsoupian real estate swag. So it's kind of a joke, but it's kind of funny, but it is true. And
yeah.
For now, it doesn't make my daughter feel weird. So I'll run with it. But yeah, you don't have to spend any money regarding the social relationships. So don't feel like, you have to spend an absurd amount of money.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When you do send those out.
Yep.
How many people do you contact? I know you have a ton of people.
I've got a 1,200 homes farm.
So you send out to
Yeah,
everybody.
for
in there?
these, like this is only for Southline schools.
Got it.
So nobody outside of the school district gets these. For any mailer that I would send out, it would be my farm area as well as pest clients and spares, because they don't need to be just local to have, know that I'm continuously selling houses.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Okay. Debbie, you ready?
Yeah.
And then we'll do Debbie, then food's here. So we're gonna grab it, but we're gonna eat while we're doing it, because we are we're doing this next time, but I want to make sure we get through everybody because we have a lot of very valuable information. Is everybody finding good value out of this so far? Yes, yay, awesome. Okay. State your name.
Oh, of course. I am Debbie Luke. This is my 6th year in real estate.
Awesome.
Okay.
And what are you going to be talking to us about?
Yeah, so I do client events and social media stuff too, but the one thing that I added in my business last year is I started doing newsletters in the neighborhood that I live in because I wanted to try out mailings and see how that would work for me and whatnot. I am involved in the school PTO and do stuff in our neighborhood. So I just wanted to find another way to touch those people and just to try something new to see how it would work, what I could learn from it, to kind of spend the advertising dollars that we should be spending.
Okay, so are you, all your, the newsletter, is it digital and print or just print?
Yeah, so it's print to my neighborhood. So about 1,000, it goes out to about 1,000 people.
Okay,
And then it is digital to my sphere and client database, family, friends.
so you can take one piece and basically double down on it,
Correct.
right? Okay, awesome. This lovely newsletter, how did
Yes.
you design it? Because
So I did buy a template on Etsy because I was trying to create it myself and I realized, why would I do that when there's resources out there? I didn't love a lot of the information. The grammar was really poor. So you really have to read through something if you buy it. But what it had for me was kind of the bones and the structure and the setup. So I could basically use the setup and put my own information into it and kind of move some pieces around.
yeah, that was super, because we've talked about
Yeah.
this and that was like, we're trying, I mean, Sarah and I were spending way too much time trying to figure out
Right.
how to put it together, what content. And if you go online, you can look there, like Etsy has tons of different templates. So you can, and once again, it's kind of more just like a memory jogger, like an idea jogger.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of how we use it. So, okay. And then, oh, yes, the mailing and how you get that to the people, because that is something that I think you've really been able to do well,
Yeah.
especially from a budget perspective.
Yeah, it worked out for me that every door direct made sense because I was targeting, there were only 2 mailing routes. So yeah, there are some homes that aren't in my neighborhood that are going to get it. I was able to exclude businesses, but there were some, like say condos. I was able to exclude apartments, but anyway, there were some condos. So it wasn't all information just for that neighborhood, but it was enough to where it made sense to do it as an every door direct mailing so that I could save a lot of money.
Okay. And how much do you guys spend between, actually, before I ask that too, printing, how, like,
Mhm.
do you have a printer that you work, how do you do the printing?
So we contacted some local printers, but Vistaprint just ended up being the best route financially. And with turnaround time and stuff, they were the best to work with. They did make some mishaps along the way, but every time there was a printing error, they refunded me and then reprinted it and got it to me like within 48 hours.
Okay, awesome. So overall, how much do you guys spend monthly to mail and print?
Yeah, I had to look it up because I kind of leveraged a lot of this out. So the postage was $231 a month and it cost, depending on a coupon code, sometimes it was $200 a month, sometimes it was $300 a month.
Okay.
So probably $250 on average, I would say. And that was going to 1,000 houses roughly. And it probably costs probably closest to $500 a month.
Okay, so about 50 cents
Yeah,
per person,
correct.
which if you guys do mailings, that
Yeah.
is, so that's a really, really
And
good
it's
return.
not just a postcard, it's like a giant
Yeah.
2-sided piece of paper. So
Awesome. And then I know that you just, started this within the past 12 months and
Yeah.
typically it's a 12 to 18, maybe even 24-month turn time
Yeah.
on the mailings, but how are you feeling, like either actual ROI, like dollar for dollar, or just like community awareness?
So I knew that I was gonna have to do this for more than 12 months before I was actually it was gonna convert to dollar business. What it did do is, like, piggybacking on some of the stuff Matt said, what it did convert for me was a lot of conversation between text messages and social media of people reaching out to me that I didn't have a relationship with in the school or in the neighborhood, who said like, hey, I got your newsletter, I love this tip, or this is such a great idea, or thanks for sending this to me. And I did get some phone calls. I got a phone call from someone who had a condo and she already had an agent that she was going to be listing it with, but she just called to say that she really liked the information. And if that fell through, that she would let me know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice to be like, oh, someone's actually reading it, whether or not.
Right.
it converts to anything.
Well, and if, like you said, that 12-month, right? So
Yeah.
maybe she found this person before, but if this
She
was
did,
6 months
Correct.
down the road, then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
would have been her top of mind on that. So,
Yeah.
and then as far as timeline, so between designing it or doing it, getting it to the printer and then getting it out, like
Yeah.
if somebody's planning this out, let's say we said $500, right? Roughly. So you'd want to budget for the year about $6,000 so that you can stay on it routinely. That's like, because a lot of times it's like $1,000, like a lot of people spend like $1,000 a month on their meal.
Yeah.
That's like not uncommon. So this is a very, very cost-effective way of doing it. And so you want to make sure you've got that budget, but then from a timeline perspective, like what does your month look like, I guess? planning
Yeah,
that
so
out.
we have to have it to Vistaprint by, I think it's like the 20th, if we want to get it out by the 1st. So
Okay.
it's not a ton of time. The biggest I can lead into, so I had goals for this, like this was kind of my one thing this year, and I knew that I would learn some things along the way. And one of the biggest things two of the things that I did was I always reached out to local businesses in our neighborhood that I knew existed and asked them if they wanted to advertise for free in the newsletter. So that was probably what caused the slowest to print, was getting those vendors to get their information to us.
Mhm.
So then my admin at the time just got proactive and started creating the ads for them. And they were like, oh, that's great. Yep, that's all the right information. Because in the beginning, it was like we were bugging them, and that's not what we wanted to do. We
Right.
wanted to help them grow their business. So we were proactive in putting something together and then just getting their approval. And we just learned that within like the last 4 months. We were like, let's try something
Yeah.
else.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And then gosh, I can't remember who this guy's name is because it's with you doing that. So there's a guy that does it at a high level, but any of the businesses that he does for free,
Yeah.
if they have a storefront, he asks if he can put that
Yeah.
newsletter in there, which I don't know if you guys do that, but that was another thing that
Yeah.
so this is very with you connecting
Sure.
that way. But then their newsletter is in 12 businesses
Yeah.
per year for the year, building and building. So if you're looking at businesses that are local.
Yeah, a lot of mine weren't brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So they were like the local landscaping company
Yeah.
or a flower shop out of a home or that type of a thing. So.
Yeah,
but yes.
or maybe even sharing on their page or something, yeah.
Does Vistaprint mail it to you?
So no, so it gets shipped to my home and then it's bundled. There's a every door, you can look at it when you're done, but there's like an every door direct postage on the front, and that's how it gets mailed out much more cost effectively. So you just put them in packs of 100 and drop them off at the post office.
Okay.
But they get to know you, like they sent us some with the plastic things down, or like bring them back next month, right? So
Called every door.
every door direct through the US Postal Service. Yeah, I guess, go ahead.
Where do you get your content though?
So a lot of it is on the template that I bought, but what I learned, so the basic structure of all of my newsletters is it has local events that are coming up, recent sales in the neighborhood. If I sold something, it would be on here. Like little things that they already had on there, daylight savings time reminders. I just like changed the date and the time, market stat updates, which was great for me because I can rattle off market stats about Novi having a conversation with someone so quickly. And then most of the time there's a recipe. So I did my favorite turkey brain recipe. I'm doing a photos with Santa event. So I put that on here. I did the Thanksgiving football schedule. My November newsletter looks a lot different than my January newsletter because what I learned throughout the year, and I kind of copy and pasted Matt's idea, is I learned that if I wanted them to remember me, I needed to give them something that they would actually want to consume and keep. So probably my most popular newsletter was in September. I stole Matt's idea and I put the Novi District school calendar on there. And then people sent me pictures of that part that they cut out, which didn't have my information on it, but they cut it and put it on their fridge. And then I did the Michigan State schedule. And I chose to do Primo's Pizza that month because if you're ordering pizza for football, and I gave the businesses the opportunity to offer a special. So then it was fun. I featured an ice cream place in Farmington and he sent me a picture of all the coupons people had sent him, which was kind of cool. So I learned that giving them something tangible to keep, so that it didn't just get recycled, was more effective. And I think I started to get that in September, and that was after doing it every month for 9 months. so.
But so you go to Etsy though every month, though?
No, I bought the full year ahead.
Oh, okay, good.
And she didn't have 2022, she only had 2021, right? And so none of the market information was relevant anymore. It was all
Right,
pandemic
it's just the setup,
centered,
though.
but it was just the setup. Yep, 100%. And then I use HomeBot, so I always have the home valuation tool. So every time someone would scan it to get in touch with me, it would automatically set them up on HomeBot. So now once a month they get their home value in their email too. And there were some people that did that, which was kind of cool to see.
Awesome. No, and this is like, what's great about this too, is this is hyper local, like that is, so it makes it, when you're finding the businesses, you're pulling this, like the information that you're gonna be able to provide, even the school schedule, like if you were mailing this to all kinds of, like, you couldn't do that, but this keeps it very local. And that's really at the end of the day, especially for most of us with our business, we're not in, 50 cities, like you're
Yeah.
really, and you can build and scale it from there, because you can start with one neighborhood, like your own neighborhood, or
Yeah.
if you don't live in a neighborhood necessarily, maybe you pick one that you've sold in before, and
Yeah.
then you can start building this out, so.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm gonna have to reinvent the wheel. Like next year, I'm gonna change the dates on it, but the maintenance tips that are on here are gonna be the same for the same months next year and so on. But my plan is to add another neighborhood in, because for 50 cents a piece, I mean, even if I spend $1,200 a month and I'm getting 2,000 homes, that's not bad. for
It's a
each.
huge, and if you're involved in the school and you're in it, like, and that's
Yeah.
also, this it becomes another element of, and this is where if you're doing it where you live or where you are at most of the time, it's this layering that, they might not sell just because they got the newsletter, but between the newsletter and seeing you and have, like, it's that
Yeah, yeah.
layering effect, which is awesome, so.
Yeah, and lastly, I did try to put like, when I ran the half marathon, I put it in here. I just tried to
That's
make
awesome.
it more personal with like a letter from myself every month. And then I would see people at the park and I just saw some at the park because the weather was so nice. And she's like, oh, I read in your newsletter that you just ran a half marathon. I ran one, I ran Chicago. We talked about it. So
It's awesome.
it's kind of cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, let's grab food and then we will come back in and finish up.
Heidi, Heidi, you're gonna just continue, so you let this run.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah.
That's
Unless you
fine.
want
I was gonna stop it, but. Find it.
It's ready.
Oh, no.
Some of them are so good than others when it goes, because it's not like all the same information, but I just kind of happy and it's good. Yeah.
I mean, but you're.
I'm actually seeing like a second, like just cutting out this green and putting that into.
And then you, oh, right, that's what it is, you go down it, by the time you work. Did you miss it?
Yeah, make this hair, I think like.
No, no. Oh, well, I think just.
Just like.
Yeah. It's not a good answer, but-
And then putting it in.
Yeah, on the screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was trying to like re-put them in the right sky they needed and then I'm like.
Yeah. Right, yeah, okay.
No,
I wish it would be a little different in the sense of like. I can personalize all the information for each person with my dad card. I change, okay, change that, so.
Oh, yeah, so it didn't be more like that's the number thing for.
Okay. Yeah, so I go for the free. So like if I'm sending a newsletter in November.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to check.
Oh, I think it was fun. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
All right, we didn't tell us what we didn't hear. Well, hopefully the holiday.
Yeah, really. And my dad, well, it's like, oh, man.
Thank you.
Dude.
I forgot to say
No way to turn it off.
There you go. Very smart.
And I'm glad I did it. It'll be. Should not. My son. She said, okay. Okay, I like that. Doesn't surprise me one. Yeah. I want it. But I have it. Oh, you're being mad.
Okay. Hot story how it got me there. I was applying for an internship. No. Which is a agency. And they were gonna pay for all. And I wasn't really. I didn't really want to do it at that time. But if they were going. And I made it a lot farther than I anticipated through the process. And I got down to the final round and I didn't get it. And it coincided with like spring break and senior year in college. And my parents were going there. They went there the year before and they were going. And I didn't have any appointments. You know, we're going to Charleston, like, come check it out. I finished the band of before. And I'm like, all of you working on. So I went there. And I was working in a hotel in college. And so I went to the hotel that we were staying right now in Charleston. And I just like, so I just went down. Kind of temporary work. Like, and I just went around to like all the cool hotel. Everyone was like, I was hired. So I ended up. We spent 10 hours times downtown Charleston. Really, I try to tell. And so I ended up at the beach resort. I went front desk in the morning. You know, we had the service manager. Yeah. or it's- I'm just curious, like, what, the guy comes out, he looks at the just like in the winter from Grand Valley. And it's called turning his business through. Like 22 years old. And so we started, and I went to the Oregon, the same conference in Grand Valley, and he was from Michigan. And he said, "Oh, you're out working out." And I said, "What?" Well, I'm like, "I need a place to live." I'm like, you know anybody that roommate is?" Actually, they just had a guy named. So I got, but I could jump, this is a dollar. Carrying bags and parts. And that's gonna do it. In stuff like that. And they stuck me in the entry level man. That was kind of. I went from making like $300 a year. Managing those people. I went through the recession, not on the real estate side, but down there on the college side. We're like $500 a night. And we were doing stuff on like Expedia for like $85 a day.
All right, are we ready? Yeah. Ready? Okay. Birgit, ready? Hello. Hello. Okay. Introduce yourself. Tell us how long you've been in real estate and then what your main source of business is, and we'll get into that a little bit.
Okay, so I'm Birgit. I'm in real estate since 2014. I've always been in this office and I started very slow. I wanted to learn and build up my sphere, and now I think I'm doing pretty well. And for me, it's 85% is referral business.
Okay.
The rest is repeated clients and social media or people that I just meet.
Awesome. So, and you're being very modest. How much business have you done so far this year?
The GCI was 250,000.
Yeah. So she's doing a very, very, very good job, and it's been really, and how long, like, when did it kind of really take off? Because you, like you said, you started slow.
Yeah.
So like, when did it really start to all kind of come together?
So it started after people knew what I do. And I think that's where my business comes from. So when I meet people and everybody who knows me, all my friends, all my husband's co-workers, they all know I'm in real estate. And when I meet them, I talk about what I do. And I talk very passionate about it because I really love what I do. And there's always a funny story to tell or a crazy story or something what happens in real estate or a special house that I show. There's always something to tell. And I always tell this with a lot of joy. And so people really know that I love my job. And I think that's what makes it interesting to them and trusting me and referring me to others. And my hairdresser knows what I do. My dentist knows what I do. Like I said, all my husband's co-worker, it's a big automotive firm. So they all come to me.
Yeah.
Not all, but
yeah,
a lot of them. So they know what I do. I do it with passion. I do a good job. So they refer me to their friends or when they need something.
Yeah. And I like how you said you talk about funny things that have happened or different houses. And I mean, there are multiple like full TV networks that are dedicated to home stuff, right? So people love real estate and they love to see all the different sides of it. So how do you, like, when you first start, obviously now it builds because more people know, but when you were first starting to try to get people to know what you did, how did you start those conversations, or how did that come up, or how do you kind of make sure that it does come up maybe when you're having these conversations with people? And
it's naturally, everybody asks you, what are you doing? So, and then I start talking and then I tell them why I love it and what happened recently. And also big thing for me, social media, similar like Matt does, like you connect to people and then I post a lot of the work that I do.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I show many homes with crazy toilets in the basement.
Mhm.
That's a runner. I
Yeah.
show these pictures and people love it. So when people meet me, they first question they ask me is, hey, what did you show? What happened? What's
Yeah.
new? Can you say something? And how is the market doing? So people really know what I do and they remember that. And that's how the
Yeah.
conversation starts at the moment.
So that's good, because I feel like you keep it fun and entertaining more instead. I mean,
Yes.
that like stats are important, that kind of stuff. Obviously, all that
Mhm.
information is important, but if somebody's not looking to buy or sell, is that necessarily, but if you make it fun or
Yeah.
funny or interesting, then that becomes something that they want to follow, you know, and
Yeah.
pay attention to, and then naturally brings that conversation up in a
Exactly.
way. So that's awesome. So, do you do you have much of like a budget? I mean, because obviously a lot of it's
Mhm.
just like kind of your like face to face and whatnot. So do you do anything that does, you know, have a budget, cost money or anything like that? Or is it mostly
Yeah.
just, yeah,
I do have a little bit. The goal is for me to dig deeper into this in the future, but I do once a year also a client event, which is smaller than basis. Usually I do either family picnic, or last year I did family pictures, you know, for Christmas cards. I had my 5-year anniversary as a big party. So things like
Yeah.
this I do every year. I try to do one thing, one main event to invite everybody. And that's
okay.
also that's more to be in touch.
Yeah, for sure.
Then I also send out monthly emails. I wish I would be more organized with that. They're not always out at first, but somehow they get out.
They get there.
And then also I'm very personal. So I do the CMR, like I have a system for birthday, you know, emails, but I'm not such a big fan of this. So I even call them, and I might be a day or two late, but I still call them and talk to them personally. I think this is better than just having a system that's
Yeah.
just going out and they get from 10 other people.
And this goes back into like, when you're like, where am I getting my contacts from? Like that's, you
Mhm.
know, you're just reaching out to say happy birthday, like you're just being a good person, right? Like
Yeah,
that's just like,
exactly.
just be a good person. And
And
then,
be real, be
yeah,
contact,
exactly,
and be there for them. And
yeah. And then when you are, so obviously you're busy, you know, your business, and then you've got kids and stuff. So when you're like picking, like, and a lot of it's being in front of people, are you like pretty intentional about where you go, who you see, what you say yes to, what you say no to? Because it's hard, you know, sometimes to manage everything. So, and
Yeah.
yours is a lot of face to face. So it's not
Yeah.
the same automated system that might make it easier to touch more people. So are you pretty intentional around the things that you do and say yes to and whatnot?
yes, I go to a lot of events, but I also enjoy them. So
Yeah.
it's not that I think, oh, I just have to go to just for business. And I go, I'm with a group of, a networking group since 6 or 7 years. I have no business out of this group, but I still go.
Mhm.
I enjoy being with people,
Yeah.
and maybe in the future I'll get business out from there. So, but I still do it from the bottom of the heart. And I think that's real, just being real, and that people just feel that you're not just another agent. Like,
Yeah, if you're authentically doing
Yeah.
you, then, and people work with people that they like, and if you're authentically being yourself, then
Yeah.
that's how
Exactly.
it works, right? And then you probably you probably work with people that you want to work with as well, because it's in the
Yeah.
same, you know, you're in the same, doing the same things and
yeah,
whatnot.
same interest.
Yeah.
And I do a lot. I mean, I'm networking groups. I'm from Germany, so or Austria. I have lots of German networking groups, which is huge for me. I'm involved in school for the kids,
Yeah.
things like this, in the neighborhood.
Awesome.
It's
Cool.
crazy.
Very good. And then if you were to do, like, is there anything that you, knowing what you know now, and whatnot, when you were first getting started, that you would have done differently, like to at all?
Yeah, I think the key and the change for me was being consistent. Like, have something planned out during the year, like every month send out something, or don't forget a birthday, even if it's a day or two late, but call and be consistent and be constantly present as a real estate agent.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Heidi.
All right, Charles, you ready?
Ready. All right.
All right. Just like me.
Hi, I'm Charles Saliard. I've been doing real estate for 11 years now. I'm like the old guy, the veteran up
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Not quite through the full shift, but at the beginning as things were starting.
Yeah,
to come back.
I started, we didn't know, right? Like what we hear now is, you know, you'll know once it's over, you'll know that
Mhm.
you've just been through it. So we didn't really know. I started at a time when short sales were a thing. It's not a part of my marketing plan. Right now.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk all about
We'll
short
see.
sales. It's gonna be super exciting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what your, one of your main sources of business is and how you built that up.
Sure. First of all, I mean, a ton of value. I've got like 2 pages of notes that I've taken from listening to Matt, and Dave, and Birgit. I mean, this stuff's awesome. So I think a couple of things that are kind of the common denominator, no matter what we're doing or focusing on. I wrote down, David said something about mind share of your sphere. I think that's something that we're all trying to accomplish, and there's just a little bit, everybody's kind of got a different way of doing it. But for me, it's really diving deep into my sphere, my database. When I say dive deep into it, I've kind of taken like a vendor program and have dove really deep in on that, and that's turned. I've got 39 closed transactions so far this year. 20 of those transactions have come from what I would call vendors.
Okay, now, and your vendors, are they just people you send stuff to, or do you stay in relationship with these people at like throughout the year?
No, that's where we're trying to get that mind share. So it's people that I am very specific with the relationships and building those relationships. We hear a lot of times people talk about, we do it at every meeting. Well, where's the business come from? Sphere. Well, what's your sphere? And like for Matt, I know a big part of his sphere is doing things digitally through social media in connection with the school. For what's the biggest part of my sphere is working with partners that are vendors. It started with me from a B&I group, from a business networking group. Really kind of opened my eyes to that, and then I've grown it beyond that group. So I've targeted, different businesses, business owners, people out there that I can give back to and manage and help grow their business. In turn, I become I'm the real estate guy in their world.
Yeah, so if you're sending something out, if you're doing an event, if you're doing that, are these people on your list of people that you are
sure.
sending things to, inviting to your things and whatnot, right?
They're the most important people
Yeah.
that I'm
Okay.
sending things out to.
And then, because we've talked before, so like the conversation you have around that, or when you're introducing yourself to or trying to get in connection or business with somebody else, essentially, how do you go about finding these people? What do you say to them when you call them up or start a conversation with them?
I think in real estate, we've got a great value that we can add to other people's business. So come from kind of a giver's gain mindset. If there's something that I can do to help grow your business, in turn, will you help grow mine? So I try to give them a value.
Yeah.
And there's some that are natural fits. I mean, lenders, I think we should all have some sort of partnership with lenders in here. I've got a couple of different lenders that we've been able to partner with. An estate planning attorney has been something really big, but it's weird ones. I looked through, I have, I was able to get, I have three closed transactions I had this year from a guy that's a manager of a janitorial supply company. That was just organic relationships, just somebody that I met, and he bought a house and then referred me to his sister-in-law who sold a house and bought a house. But there's a lot of those carpet cleaners, painters, HVAC people, like it's building those relationships. That's been key for me.
Okay, and then I know you had shown me one day, you had like that's a stack of business cards. So like when you go somewhere and you see it, do you just like sometimes pick that up and then reach out, or are those things that you get given
I
from
do, yeah.
events?
So I'll take, if you go to, I was at Subway yesterday in Commerce, and they've got like a business card wall. And there was a landscaper, there was a landscaper, a self-defense, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was a woman who did CPL training and self-defense primarily for women. So I just take pictures of them, and then I'll reach out to them and I'll ask if there's a way that we can work with them. If we can include them in our newsletter that we'll send out, that goes to our database. We'll invite them to our client events, different things like that, just to try to, we'll store them in our database, put a tag on them as self-defense. And then if our sphere, our people come to us, we want to be able to give value to our clients that we're working with. So if our clients come to us and they're moving here from out of state and they're saying, like, whatever, like the reason the CPL one came up, I found interesting is I had someone ask, I'm moving here, I'm a single woman, I'm moving here, I don't know anybody here, like, where do you know anybody that does self-defense training? I was able to go into my database, pull it up, and we had a couple at the time, and I said, yeah, here.
Mhm.
And I sent over the information, like, okay, that's pretty cool. So it's not just, do you have a lender, do you have a home inspector, it's, do you have a dance studio, a daycare, a gym, a physical therapist. These are all people that we've got in our database that we try to give business to, in turn, give us value back, business back to us.
Yeah, so what's I think is what's so cool about this is you're working as the connector for all of these different aspects. And then when somebody else asked that, then she said, I did the self-defense class, like, oh, and then they're like, where'd you find this person? And then now you're brought up in a conversation that outside of real estate, like you probably wouldn't have been in other than that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's really cool, because when you're that connector, you're kind of involved in all facets of their life instead of just that real estate transaction part. So the likelihood that you come up in conversation is, and then how do you know that person? Oh, well, I know him from helping with my house or whatever.
Well, and that's where we'll see it too, where I'll have, random businesses will in turn ask me, hey, is it okay if can we put a stack of your business cards out at our front desk? One thing that I wrote down that I thought was, I think it was Debbie that had said it, was doing the newsletters, placing those in the businesses that you are featuring in the newsletter. That's something that we've done a couple of times, but we haven't been specific about it. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's something, because we've had other people ask us, hey, do you mind if we put your newsletter out, or do we put your business cards out? So I think that's something that we definitely should do. But yeah, it's about being organic. One thing, this came up when we were doing at the ALC training, and it was just something, I don't know why it triggered for me at the time, but we talk about like database and we talk about contacts and lead gen, and David alluded to it being kind of a slimy word, right? And I think at the end, we have to remember that your database is made up of humans. They're made up of people.
Mhm.
And if there's ways that we can connect with those people on a human level and be able to give them value, they will want to give us value back.
Yeah.
And that's what we've learned by working with the vendors. So it's important for us to try to find new ways to give those people in our lives some value.
Yeah. And then like budget wise, like how does this work if somebody's looking at trying to implement this, and what type?
I don't do a great, so one thing, so I'm a part of a networking group. I pay about $900 a year for that. That is returns. I think it's about 7 million in GCI has come directly from a networking group. And then I've got in there, I need to budget it, and I'll budget it for this year, but I'm probably less than $1,500 a year, and just networking lunches and gifts. All of these transactions, when they send me a client, I'm not really sending them a gift. Once in a while I'll think of it, and you give them a little bit of a gift card. You'll take them out to lunch, you'll do those sorts of things, but not a huge budget. I would say under 2,000 total.
Okay. Do you meet with these people often, like one-on-one, like if you're reaching out to them, is it something that you're talking to face to face? Are you calling them on the phone? Are you getting together with them throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay.
So these people are on we're targeting them through our newsletters that we send out monthly. We've got their social media, so we're in their social media feed. So we're implementing this year some of the things that Matt had mentioned about actually farming our database. So we've collected their social media links, so we can do that. But there's a lot of human interaction that we do with them. And that's where it is. It's going out to lunch with them, it's grabbing coffee with them, grabbing a beer with them, whatever the person's into. And just one guy is a big cigar guy. So we'll catch up at a cigar shop and have a drink and a cigar. And I've gotten 3 closed transactions. So whatever that costs me, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, sounds kind of fun,
$12,
like stuff you
12
do
bucks
anyways.
for- and
Yeah.
And again, it's doing things that I enjoy doing. I'm also, it's something that Matt said a lot that I related to. I don't like talking to large crowds. I'm much better in a one-on-one setting. I get a lot more value out of that personally, and I'm more comfortable there. So these are doing things that I enjoy doing. It's just basically interacting with people, helping people, and having, some really good conversations with people directly. So for me, it's a lot of, it can be time consuming because you are taking that time to do it, and it's not just sending things out, but
Yeah.
that's the majority of our business is coming from it. So it's integral to what we do.
Yeah. So when we're talking database, and sometimes you might be like, I don't know that many people, or my close network of friends or family or whatever isn't huge, and or maybe they live in all different areas that you're not going to do as much business with them. This is a great way to actually get more localized, and be able to have those people to talk to, because you're calling them to see what type of value you can bring to them. Those are, when we're saying 20 contact, 20 call, whatever you're calling it, those are the people you're not necessarily reaching out to, maybe the parents from your kid's school to be like, hey, what's going on, or whatever. You're like, it's like, I mean, obviously you do both, but this adds that whole nother element, and it's kind of unlimited in the amount of people that
When
you
you
can
can,
connect with. on
yeah,
this.
and you can create your own, like, if there's not a group to join, I would say look at different groups. You can look at chamber groups, you can look at JC groups, Rotary clubs. You can do, it's important to do something you like. If you like gardening, find a gardening club and that, use that as a networking base, or create your own. You just say, okay, I want to create a power group of people in this area, and my office is in Novi, so I'm just going to do a radius, and I want to have a CPA, I want to have a financial planner, I want to have an estate planning attorney, and I want to have a divorce attorney. How many of those are within 5 minutes of this office? I bet you there's 1,000 of each of those.
Mhm.
So just there's your 20 contacts,
Yeah.
right? Just say, okay, today I'm calling estate planning attorneys that are within 5 minutes of Novi, call them.
Yep.
Say, hey, Charles Saliard, Keller Williams Real Estate, we're looking to build our network. I need to be able to refer to our clients. I need an estate planning attorney to refer clients. Or is this something, are you taking on new clients? It's an easy conversation to have. And then it just goes both ways. And then if you give them a client, they'll give you one back.
Yeah.
And if they don't, move on to the next one.
Right, then you pick somebody else.
And then you take it a step further and you go from the financial side and you say, okay, now I want to build trades. How many times we have clients that are asking for plumbers, electricians, contractors, handymen? Okay, just Google handymen in Novi and go through the list. Plumbers, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you have a database that you just built out.
Yeah.
And those are your people.
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm always reaching out to you. I'm like, do you have somebody? I'm like, why don't I have somebody? Like, what is my problem? Like,
Yeah.
I need to find these people, because otherwise I'm reaching out to you, and the people that you've sent me to are good. So do you you're probably screening these people on some level, or at least doing business with them on your own if you can.
Yeah, so it's gotten to the point for me where a lot of the people that we'll add into our database are referrals from other trusted people.
Yeah.
And what we do is when we're handing this person off to the client, it's they've trusted us with their largest purchase, right? The largest investment they make is their house. So they trust us with that. Now here's the people that we trust.
Yeah.
Right. So here's the handyman that we trust. Here's the plumber that we trust. So it's gotten to the point where those referrals, those people have come to me from the plumber I use came from the heating and cooling person
Yeah.
that I've used. So it's coming from a reputable source.
Yeah. And
You don't want to be handing out bad people. But
Yeah.
how do you do that? I mean, if you're looking to build it out, you can look at Google, and if they've got 100 reviews on Google and they've got a 4.8, read through them. And it's probably a pretty decent person to start with.
Yeah, sometimes too, if you guys have Nextdoor, or like, we have like a Commerce Township Facebook page
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Going through there, sometimes I will, if I'm looking for something for myself, and then it's like, okay, if I see the same person's name mentioned multiple times and they've got people that like that could be a good place to start maybe.
Those are a good place too, to give value to your vendors
Mhm.
that you use. So when you go on those next door sites and people are saying, hey, they're we always see it. Oh, I'm out looking for a real estate agent. How many times you see a real estate agent jump in there? You're like, oh, I'm a real estate agent. I can help you. Like, all right. I mean, we can do that. But if people are asking for, hey, who do you recommend for a fence company? Who do you recommend for carpet cleaning? So when I put that out there, I'm giving value, and then they see my name, they see my profile,
Right.
and then all of a sudden in the last week, I've passed, different people, I've answered people's questions with different people are looking. I've had one person actually reach out to me. So then when the real estate question did come up and I said, hey, I'm a real estate agent. If you need help, give us a call. We'll set up a time to chat. She reached out to me and she said, I see you're all over this, referring other people.
Mhm.
So one, you didn't seem like a person that was, you weren't just looking out for yourself.
Right.
So that's how I kind of interact on those, on
Mhm.
those group pages, is try to give our vendors, pass
Yeah.
them out there and make sure your profile is one that shows that you are in real estate.
Nope, that's awesome. And if you now, knowing what you know now, and as you've been doing this, is there anything that you would have done differently or anything that you say, hey, keep this in mind as you're doing this or building this out?
Start sooner,
Mhm.
pick up the phone and start reaching out to these vendors. For me, it just kind of happened on accident. I was asked, somebody had reached out to me, they had gotten my number through I was in a group in a chamber of commerce in Farmington Hills. And I didn't really get anything out of it. And I'm like, this is dumb. I'm not renewing it. I'm not going back next year. And I didn't, but somebody had reached out to me because they got my phone number from the directory on the Chamber of Commerce. And they were looking for a real estate agent to join their networking group. So I went, and that day there were like 3 other real estate agents there, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty competitive. So my competitive nature kicks in. I'm like, I want to win this competition. So I ended up joining the group. And it was a B&I group, Business Networking International. It's probably the biggest one there is. And it was just this people, and you show up every Wednesday and we pass referrals. It's what this group is for. And it really opened my eyes to like, oh, this concept is pretty cool.
Mhm.
So there's 25 people in this networking group that I'm in. So I've taken that idea and I've grown it out from there.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, so when you said you were going out and like trying to find, the other vendors, such as divorce lawyers and stuff. And this is just to be my assumption, but you're always assuming that they're already working with other multiple realtors or whatever. And that's the part I struggle with as far as trying to get past that, like.
You're better than the other realtor they're working with.
Well, yeah, I know that.
Well, make sure they know that.
You let us all know that, Doug. You just need to let them know that. I don't know.
Funny, because I called them yesterday and told them that.
So, but you gotta show them value, right? So you're building a relationship. What can you do for them? If divorce attorney is a tough one because, hopefully you don't know a bunch of people that are getting divorced, but, like starting on an estate planning attorney, you have clients that are, they're they're selling a house, buying a house, they've got money now to determine what are they going to do with it. Hey, so you could.
But I guess what I was getting at is because like if you have like a divorce attorney and you're already working with somebody, you got to get your foot in the door to at least get that conversation started. Is there anything special that you're doing? You just show up at their door, you ask them for an appointment, and they give you.
I started it by asking if are you taking on new clients? Can I pass business to you? I've got clients that potentially could use your service. When they come up, is it okay if I pass them to you? Are you taking on new clients, new business? Yes, we are. Awesome, cool. Then I'll reach out to them again, and I may reach out to them because I may have somebody that I'm thinking of that is going to need that service. So then I've got somebody that I can push along to them, so that I may call them in a couple of weeks and be like, hey, we spoke a couple of weeks ago. You said you were taking on business. I've got this client, I would love to introduce them to you. How many real estate agents did that for them in the last 6 months? I would say probably 0, maybe 1.
Another limiting belief around that. A lot of attorneys, estate attorneys and things like that I know also have a broker's license. Do you think that they
I would not want them. to
go
find out,
Yeah.
Right.
and transact their own stuff
No.
more than not or not?
Not good ones. No, people
They
stay
don't want to deal with.
in your lane.
Yeah.
Like that's not their wheelhouse. That's not what they want to specialize in. I think you might get some
Yeah.
ding dongs, right? You know, that they think they're just the smartest person in the room and they're going to do it. And we've all been real estate agents on the other side of that transaction. We're like, this guy's a ambulance chasing an attorney and he's trying to do real estate and it's a nightmare. So you don't want to affiliate with those anyway. So the people that are really good at the craft and at what they do, they're going to want to refer that out.
Yeah, they're probably not a good attorney or a good real estate agent if they're trying to do both.
Do both.
'Cause There's too
Yeah.
much happening there, right?
Like
Yeah.
I have an estate planning attorney and there's a couple, but the best one is she's friends with my wife and they kind of met through a mom organization. We've kind of, so my wife kind of knows to keep her ears up. And I'm like, oh, estate planning here, that'd be pretty cool. So then I just would reach out and say, hey, do you mind? Like, I work in real estate, something that I have a need for. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. She's like, I get so many times people calling her like, hey, can you write this purchase agreement for me? Or hey, can you? She's like, I don't want anything to do with it. It's like, I don't know that stuff.
I think
That's an
too,
interesting approach.
a way to get in, because I'm doing this training for divorce actually, but one of the things that we talk, if attorneys are where you're trying to maybe get into is being their resource, because, not necessarily like even they'll send you business, but it's just to say, if you ever got any real estate related questions that you are maybe not answering or you want to, feel free to give me a call. Like, I'm happy to like just be here and be a resource for you. That's a way to at least like get your foot in the door to like have them have that conversation with you.
Creates a relationship.
Yeah, I think a good one right now is a CPA, right? Tax season is coming up. We've got a lot of like tax people come to us, right? Our clients and will ask us about taxes and the impact of selling their home this year, what that might have on their taxes. And we know that the answer is we really aren't CPAs and shouldn't be providing that with them. But if we have the resource to give them, so it's an easy one where we should have some clients where we could actually hand off to a CPA in the next 2 to 3 months. So if you don't have a CPA in your network, maybe you reach out and say, hey, it's tax season. I know you're about to be busy. I've got a number of clients. They're going to have some questions. Are you taking people on? And that would be one that you could probably get a couple clients over to that CPA to form that relationship and hopefully they'll think of you. And because they're going to have their clients are going to have real estate questions. And going back to the attorney thing, a good CPA is not going to be answering real estate questions. They're going to say, hey, you know what? This realtor just gave me a couple of leads. They're going to think to themselves and they're like, let me go ahead and send one back to them.
And they're also going to know people that might be thinking of selling them the next year because they're already probably talking about it. When,
And
that's
that's-
another thing too, is like, not just in the.
And what I've found too is my average price, my average sale price has gone up substantially since making this intentional. And you're getting like-minded people. You're getting people, because the people that I'm working with, we tend to kind of have the same type of interest, same mindsets. And I mean, my average price this past year was 418,000, which is up beyond just what the market was up. And it's grown each year beyond what the market has grown each year because of the people that I'm affiliating with.
When you're working with professionals, that,
Yeah.
And also sometimes I find, I don't know, when you're working with professionals, they also treat the transaction professionally and respect what you do as a professional, if they're a professional, because they want that same respect and expect that same respect in what they're doing. So I think that, and business owners and things like that, they're probably less likely to try and give them a deal because they are not looking, like, they don't want people to do
Yeah.
that to them. I don't know. I
Right.
mean,
no, and that's
I'm kind of.
no, and I'll second what Matt said. Mike, I'm 3% on. I don't think there was one of those in there that I've reduced the commission on.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How long have you been cultivating this part of your business?
5 years, 4 or 5 years, 4.5, somewhere between 4 and 5 years. It's become a really big focus.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we are just a little bit over time. So sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that shared too. This was like super valuable. I got a ton of stuff out of it. I'm gonna go after the videos. I can take notes. Does anybody have questions on any other, like, and we can briefly, and then we'll talk more, we can get more depth if people have questions, any other type of lead gen that we did not cover, or I can at least take notes on, so I can be sure we hit it next week. Okay, awesome. So what I would recommend is, first of all, you've been doing the business for a little while and you know what your top strategy is. Maybe start looking at how you can go even deeper into that. If you've already done as much as you'll really like dove into that, start looking at your next maybe 2 and like start building on that. But like Matt said, it's better to go all in and double and triple down on